Hey friends, so I have a free weekend unexpectedly, or most of the weekend, and I find myself being like, okay, what do I need to do? Like, what would be like responsible to do? Like, there's a very long list of all sorts of things that would be, okay, I do not want to blinker on, sorry, that would be like a good idea, right? According to like what needs to be done, what things are on my list, blah, blah. And as I was going through that list, I was like, this sounds like a drag. Like, I don't feel like doing any of those things. So I changed my question to what do I want to do, which also felt like still I was coming up with things that feel more like obligation oriented. And so then I asked myself the question, what would I do if someone handed me $1 million right now? And with that question, like everything on my list, which is mostly like I want to paint the walls in our house. Okay, I bought paint and the paint is just like sitting there, and I want to put up the pictures on the walls, but I keep telling myself like, don't put up the pictures until you've painted, because then you'll have to take the pictures down in order to paint. So that's actually interesting too, because saying that out loud, I'm like, oh, let me put up the pictures, because I feel like I could have the energy to put up the pictures. And then, yeah, if I ever get around to painting it, then I'll take them down. That's great. So that's good exercise. I'm telling you, more and more and more often, I am realizing that like talking things out loud or writing them down or telling them to someone, there is something so much more effective about that than trying to think through things in your head. Wow, it is like so different to say things out loud, because in this context, I know that I'm not just making this for myself, I'm making it for you. And so I'm thinking about you hearing it, and that's helping me to like co-regulate with the like supposed you, which is I think why everyone should have a YouTube channel, because or like an Instagram, whatever version of that you want to do, like if it feels right for you. Everyone is a weird thing to say, but if it feels right to you, like I think it's very helpful to have someone to do something for, even if it's an imaginary someone. Um okay, so I'm taking note of that you just helped me come to. Thank you very much for that. So I'm gonna put those pictures up wherever I feel like putting them. And then if and when I get to painting, then I will paint and take them down to paint. Or I can paint around the squares. Who the fuck cares? So when I said to myself, what would I do if someone handed me $1 million? I was like, ooh, I would pay someone else to paint those walls. So I definitely would not be doing that this weekend. And I just picked up a book at the library that's like from Lily's Library, which if you're wanting to start reading fiction and you don't know where to start and you're kind of sensitive, I would encourage you to check out Lily's Library, Lilly, on Instagram. It's like a book club on Instagram through Lily Singh, and they're all Southeast Asian authors. And I find that it is like, for the most part, the books are not super sexy. Like adult books, even young adult books, have like way more sexuality in them than I have an easy time with, because I grew up on only Christian authors where there was no sexuality in it. And so the like actual adult books, adult fiction, and even young adult fiction can be hard for me in that sense. So so far, Lily's Library, there's been no intense sexuality. There was one book that was erotica, and I just skipped that one. And then there was another book that was like supposedly like a thriller type situation, and I skipped that one. But there's also been no like overt violence, which even again, like the young adult books, even the adult books have like really intense violence in them, and the adult fiction books, and then the young adult fiction books even more so. I mean, even also. So, side note, if you're looking to engage with fiction and you want something that's going to be a little bit more mild in terms of sexuality and violence, I would recommend Lily's Library. And they've all been fun, interesting books in my experience. So anyways, I just picked up one of those at the library, and that reading fiction is one of my primary like identified forms of pleasure that I have found thus far in my life. And so when I asked myself that question, what would I do if I had $1 million, the answer was lay on the couch and read this new book. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna act like I have $1 million, and I'm gonna not paint the walls, and I'm not gonna like look for someone to paint them, but I'm gonna assume that I'm gonna find someone to paint them. But even if I end up being the one to paint them, I'm not gonna ask myself to do that today. If it happens this weekend, great. But I am gonna let myself lay on the couch and read this book. And the feeling of like, oh, there's 8,000 things on my list and so many of them that I should do, that went away as soon as I asked myself that question. What would you do if someone handed you $1 million right now? Like, I can no longer identify anything on the list. And there was this feeling of like, oh, there's so much to do on the list. I think the other ones were like figure out some storage situations. But that doesn't feel important. Because if someone handed me $1 million, I would pay someone to build some closets. We don't have any closets in the whole house for storage, but that doesn't feel important once I say to myself like, oh, you can just pay someone to do that. Yeah. I guess it helps because I don't feel like it has to get done now. I don't feel like sad that I don't have the $1 million. I just feel like it clarifies. It feels like it helps me see like it's not a pressing issue, which obviously logically I knew, but subconsciously. All right, so what would you do if someone handed you $1 million? How does it change your list? I think it's an interesting question. And it makes me feel a lot lighter about it all. Okay, love ya.